morning, gentlemen. You all know the news, of course. As I've earlier told you, I don't talk about the news at all. That's something you can get from any of the other news channels or from the news readers. I'm just going to analyze what's happening. That's very important. Now, there has been an attack by the Americans. I think they have mounted an attack on 80 targets in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen as a retaliation for 3 servicemen who were killed in Jordan by a drone attack. In addition, if you remember, more than 30 were injured. So it was a big blow to the American military might, to the American ego, that such a thing should happen, wherein 3 soldiers should be just killed and another 30 injured. And the American response was expected. But the point is that response enough? Is that response a good deterrent? Or is it just trying to pass the buck, to show to the world, well, we're going to take some action. And the net result is perhaps zero. Gentlemen, now, as you know historically, America has got tremendous interests in the Middle East. There was a time when Iran was the pivot of the American policy in the Middle East, when the Shah of Iran was the ruler. And Shah of Iran was put into power in 1954 by a CIA-inspired coup, where the Iranian Prime Minister was overthrown, sent into oblivion, and the Shah became an autocrat. That lasted for, say, 24 years maybe, but that's all. Beyond that didn't go, and the Shah finally didn't achieve anything. That's also a fact. He could not take Iran economically, which was backward forward. He was thinking of how Turkey has become modern, and he wanted to make Iran the same way, but he failed. Gentlemen, now from that time there was an Iranian revolution led by Ayatollah Khomeini. And then we had very sad spectacle of the American mission, embassy personnel in Tehran being held hostage. And America had to pay millions of dollars before it get them back. And even at that time, America could not do anything to Iran. So the crux of the issue is that after the Iranian revolution, I think in 78, and now it is 2024, 46 years have elapsed, America has not been able to tame Iran. And the Americans have been, of course, hoping against hope that Iran will come back into the fold and they'll be again chummy with them like they were with the Shah. But the Iranian leadership is unable to forget the American role in putting the Shah on power and the atrocities which are committed by the Shah. I think I was reading somewhere that one of the punishments which the Shah used to carry out was against the dissidents, against him, was to thus take them up in a helicopter, tie their hand and feet, and then from a height of about 3,000 to 4,000 feet, just throw them down. And at the end of it, there was no trial, there was nothing like that. So Iran hasn't forgotten all that. And secondly, there's an ideology called the ISI, which is anti-West basically, and anti-monarchy, which has taken roots in Iraq and Syria. And the whole thing has actually started off because of the failure of the American intelligence. Now, one of the principles of war is intelligence. That is, you're supposed to know what the enemy is going to do. But unfortunately, the American intelligence is not what it used to be, say, when it was during the days of the Shah, or the days when Roosevelt was heading the American government. It's now lost its elan, its shine, with the result, as you all are aware, they didn't know a damn thing about what's going on in the Gaza Strip. Now, Gaza Strip is a small land, say just 11 kilometers by 30 odd kilometers, a very small area. And this was a place where they stockpiled thousands of rockets. I mean, this is, as the CIA didn't know a damn thing about it. much wanted, and I have no proof, I won't say have it, that Iran had instigated, but there is no doubt. You see, if you add two and two, it only adds up to four, because the Houthis and the Hamas, which are ruling the Gaza Strip, could not have amassed all those rockets and missiles without the help of Iran. And Iran is fighting for two things. They're fighting for leadership of the Islamic world, and secondly, they want to become the dominant power in the Middle East as well. So both these things, when you add up, Iran had to have some knowledge of what's going on in the Gaza Strip. I think they were the ones who instigated this entire thing. Now, it was all pre-planned. And when about 10,000 rockets hit Israel and the Israeli Iron Dome collapsed, the Americans were nonplussed, because here was something which had happened we didn't expect. Joe Biden was busy with Ukraine on the advice of Obama, because it's been a well-known fact by most of the people who have told me from America is that Biden is just a figurehead president at the moment, and the real power still rests with Obama. And in fact, General Austin, the Secretary of Defense, is a hand-picked man by Obama, and he reports directly to him. Well, Obama thought he was very clever, and he thought that the Ukraine battle will come in his favor, in the American favor, and Biden or somebody else from the Democratic Party would win again. But they didn't anticipate that Hamas would launch such a big attack, and that is the first principle of war, which they ignore: intelligence. They know what the hell is going on. So once that war started, again their intelligence was so poor, they never knew that the sentiment against America in the Middle East was totally negative. And there were some places in America, see, like in Iraq or Syria and Yemen, where the Americans are persona non grata. Now, I can't go on making videos here and there and tell you all what's happened, but let me tell you, Iraq is entirely an American creation. There's a good man who was leading Iraq, Saddam Hussein, when the Americans under George Bush made that devious plan to remove him, got him executed in a partial trial, and net result is, and gentlemen, the net result, as you know what's happened, is that America lost Iraq totally. See, there was a majority Shia population, and the hold became that of Iran, and the Americans became persona non grata. Now, once the invasion of Gaza began as a retaliation by the Israelis, and America came entirely on the side of Israel, which was logical and correct, the fact is the entire area was churning, and the Americans never envisaged that they would be the butt of the attacks. Now, as far as my information goes, I think about 350 attacks have taken place on American bases, American assets in the Middle East, notably in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. And Yemen has declared war on Israel, and they use firing their rockets from there. And to pressurize the world, they have started attacking the shipping in the Red Sea. Now, that's a very, very dangerous situation. I think this is something the American intelligence did not conceptualize or knew, or whatever happened. And the American reaction initially was very muted, because see, the Americans were a little confused as to what the hell's happening, in the sense, we don't know what's happening now. The Americans just wondering what's happening, not happening, and they were thinking, what are we going to do next? And then came this dastardly news that 3 American soldiers have been killed, another 30 injured, in a drone attack in Jordan, of all places. And Jordan is the ally of the Americans. If that's going to happen in the country which you're ally, you can well imagine what's going to happen in a country like, say, Yemen or or Iraq. So, gentlemen, the situation is not very conducive as far as America is concerned. And another important thing is that 2 American SEALs are missing. SEALs are the specialist naval commandos, and they were the ones who were used to eliminate Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, and these are missing from the coast of Yemen. Nobody knows what's happened. The Americans have finally said that they don't exist. They died. For all you know, they may be alive, or they may have been captured by the Houthis. Now, Houthis are a different kettle of fish. In the sense they're very resilient. I couldn't understand how the world could have tolerated these Houthis, as you know, are now going around attacking the shipping lanes, ships. Particularly, they want to pressurize the world and to see to it that they can, in a devious way, see that Israel cannot exist. Now, what is the geopolitical situation? America has retaliated, and I believe their superior bomber, the B-1 and the B-52, and so many of them have taken off from their bases in America and bombed the airfields and the targets, which were the home of the militia which was supporting Iran. That is, the Iranian proxies who were fighting in Iraq, in Syria, and Yemen have been hit. 80 of them. That's a very nice thing. Or we may feel it's a bad thing. But militarily, how successful it's going to be that is the point which matters. Are the Americans going to escalate further? Once there was a book by Rumor Gordon which he wrote that thus far and no further. But what it means is that the Americans have carried out this bombing. That's certainly not good. But have they made out any ancillary plan? What's going to be next? Because just making, say, 1 or 2 days attacks and then keeping quiet and continuing to talk here and there is not going to help. Because we must remember that America and Israel can only survive once the extremist elements in the few of the Arab world countries are eliminated or decimated. Americans did help in the decimation of the Daesh or the ISI in Iraq when Baghdadi was ruling. Baghdadi died a dog's death. But that's about all. That was during the time of Donald Trump. Now it is time of Biden, come Obama. And so we don't know really what's going to happen. What is the American plan? If the American plan is only to show a deterrence like this and hoping that it's going to deter the Houthis and the militia in Iraq and Syria, it's not going to happen. This attack by the Americans would become meaningless. It's got no relevance. And the question now arises, is America ready for full-scale war with Iran? I don't see any possibility that this will not happen. I think this war has to take place because the Americans are going to be pushed into this war. I don't think America wants to fight, frankly. This is my personal view. They just want to do, we have a word in Punjabi called Giddar Pupki. That means, like a jackal, you keep barking and they hope that the world will get frightened of America and everything will quieten down. Well, they failed in Ukraine, you know that yourself. They have not been able to defeat the Russians. The Russians still occupying about 20% of Ukrainian territory. And the Americans and their ally Zelensky have to lump it. There's nothing much they can do about it, except give billions of dollars worth of weapons and aid. And that's affecting the American economy. The question with the American government must realize how much more they can go to milk the American taxpayer and the American budget in supporting these things. Maybe everything would have been okay in case the war had been confined only to Ukraine, but now it's spread to the entire Middle East, and the Middle East is aflame. Iran knows that it's not a match of the United States, but despite that, it's needling the Americans. It's been fighting them. And now the question is, what next? Gentlemen, my personal opinion is that the American military think tanks, you see, they are not fools, they know it. And the American military must have realized that this token attack, like bombing 1 day and 2 days and 30 or 40, 80 targets, and of course they are very damaging, but if there's no sustenance and they don't pursue it, it's not going to lead to any results. Other words, as you know, as Clausewitz has said, that war is an extension of the political aim. And the political aim of America means to dominate the world, and more so in the Middle East. And are they going to do it by just these 80 attacks here and there? No, it's not possible, because the Houthis are not defeated, and in Iraq, the Iraqi parliament and government has called for the withdrawal of the American forces from Iraq. Now, what is that commentary? The Americans had gone into Iraq to help them, and now the Iraqis say, we don't want you. And Iran, of course, is daggers drawn, and they're playing their cards very well. They've got Russia and China as allies, but I am very sure that in case there's a clash with America, Russia, and China are not going to come on the Iranian side. I think Iran needs to be clear about it. So the question arises, what next? I think inexorably the Americans are going to be sucked into a conflict with Iran. There's no doubt about it. And America, instead of just doing some symbolic attacks here and there, has to attack Iran itself in case it has to survive. You see, we have Darwin's theory, that famous theory, the theory of evolution, in which he has said the animal species survive as per the theory of evolution, and the cardinal principle is the survival of the fittest. That is, those who are fit survive and the others just go away. So this is the acid test now. And if America has to survive as a power, it will have to eliminate Iran. Most of the other countries are sitting on the fence. India is sitting on the fence. And I have no advice to give to Mr. Modi. I don't know what's going to happen. Saudi Arabia isn't actively intervening on the side of the Americans. In any case, they don't have much of a military might. So the question is, Iran, which has built up a good formidable military, what are they going to do? Of course, the big heading is Pakistan. Well, I don't know if Pakistan is on the side of the Americans or on the side of the Chinese, because they've always played a dubious game. So, gentlemen, what I mean to say is that these attacks by themselves have got little relevance, and America has to pursue something further, more drastic, and I'm not sure they're going to do it, but if they do it, I wouldn't be surprised if at some stage in this world, some sort of a nuclear device is used on Iran. Because desperation is something which you can't avoid, and once you're desperate, you can do anything. I hope, gentlemen, you all like this video. I will say goodbye to you. God bless. In the meanwhile, if you get time, you must subscribe to my channel, and at the same time share it with your friends, and do spread the word and come back for more. Goodbye. Take care.